Speaking of cars, about Le Mans 66, Drew, or Ford versus Ferrari, depending on where you are in the world, I think.
Yes, it is an oddly named film, this one. As you say, it's got Le Mans 66, the title it carries in the UK and other countries. Typically, there's a guess where the Le Mans 24-hour race is more well known than in the US. Makes sense, certainly, though the actual race takes up only a relatively small portion of the film, and I really doubt that many people know the significance of that particular year. Its original title, Ford vs Ferrari, therefore makes a lot more sense, as both Ford and Ferrari are universally recognised names. However, it's not really about Ford vs Ferrari, as neither Enzo Ferrari nor the company that bears his name play much of a role in it, being responsible for an inciting incident and not a great deal more. And that itself isn't unique, as Ferrari arrogance allegedly also led to Lamborghini, then known for making tractors, beginning to produce sports cars. The plot is reasonably straightforward, being in many ways a paint-by-numbers sporting underdog story, though that underdog was one of the world's largest car manufacturers with a blank cheque for R&D, so that's the last time I'll use that particular term. John Bernthal's Lee Iacocca believes that one way to fix Ford's flagging market share is to create a motor racing division, and he believes he's found a shortcut. Ferrari are in financial trouble, and they could basically just buy the world's leading motor racing marque for a song and rebadge it. After meeting with Enzo Ferrari, Remo Girone, Iacocca and Ford find out that they've been played, and that the negotiations with Ford were simply to get a better price from Fiat. This rather rankles with Tracy Letts' Henry Ford II, and after some guff about his granddaddy, decides that Ford will build its own car to beat Ferrari at Le Mans in one of the world's most prestigious races. To do this, I enlisted Matt Damon's Carroll Shelby, our former Le Mans winner and car designer, Christian Bale's crotchety and financially troubled mechanic and racer Ken Miles, and oodles and oodles and oodles and oodles of cash. Now, they do have a very short time limit for the first attempt, but massive company with rivers of money. They're not exactly a sympathetic hero, especially when Shelby and Miles's biggest battle really isn't with the Italian team, it's with Ford and the Detroit boardroom politics, represented most notably by Josh Lucas's disagreeable Leo Beebe. However, Damon and Bale are as engaging as you'd expect as they work together to develop and build the fabled GT40, and the film is carried very firmly on their shoulders, even if their characters simply are not as interesting as, let's say, Niki Lauda and James Hunt and Ron Howard's Rush. In that film, Lauda had much more going on than being a moaning tea-obsessed brummie, and someone with less charisma than Bale would have been forgettable. Most of the rest of the cast are at least decent, but beyond the treacherous Lucas, Bale and Damon take most of the mindshare. Well, except for one actor. While it's not as crucial as it could be, given the relatively small role Ferrari actually play in a film originally titled Ford vs Ferrari, Mangold totally screwed the pooch in casting Enzo Ferrari. The Italian was a legend, one of those people whose personality dominated a room without ever having to even speak. So, for some reason, he cast Michael Gambon's knockoff Italian cousin. And if you know how little I rate Gambon as an actor, you'll understand how scathing I intend that to be. He's awful, but, like I say, minor. The bigger crime is the running time. There is no reason for this film to be 2 hours 32 minutes.
Oof.
It's exactly oof. Especially when it continues for a good 10 or 15 minutes after what was a really clear and poignant endpoint. Grumble, grumble, etc. James Mangold's direction is far too polished to be called workmanlike, but it's certainly not particularly special in this instance. It is nicely shot, but I can't but think that the focus is wrong when lush California afternoons stick in my mind more than a car doing 200 plus miles per hour down Mulsanne Straight. It is also, and this will shock you, not very accurate in details or timeline. Facts here being another casualty in Mangold's attempt to change the script so that it would attract good actors. It did, and it's just as well as it's lacking in other areas, and, as I've mentioned, doesn't seem to have quite the right focus. But it's a well-made film, solidly entertaining and with a couple of very appealing central performances. Paint by numbers perhaps, but at least the result is a pretty enough picture. However, if you're of a mind with Garth Marenghi, then you will think the writers Jez and John Henry Butterworth and Jason Keller, along with the director, are cowards. Though to be fair, there's not a lot of sub about the struggle with the movie studio executive subtext.
Yeah, this one passed me by. Cast aside, I wasn't all that interested in it, and sounds like I can probably wait for that one to appear on the streaming service of my choice to catch up with.
It's fine. It's a solid film. It's entertaining, undeniably entertaining. It's just that really, if it didn't have two such likable people in the lead, it would be very ordinary.
Yeah.
It doesn't have quite like the excitement or the character or anything of, as I say, Rush. And it's just, it feels to me that they've taken too much of the actual mechanics and motor racing part away of it to try and make it appeal to a broader audience, but it just leaves it feeling very generic because of that.
Yeah.
There's nothing that sets it apart from 1,000 other films you've seen.
I'm going to watch this next Christmas. After I've had my Christmas dinner, instead of the Queen's speech, I'm going to put this on when I am too stuffed to move and I just want to soak in something that's got 0 calories. There you go. Although I do have a bit of a soft spot for James Mangold, because again, I listened to an interview with him recently where he got absolutely laid into cinema chains for butting heads with people like Netflix and focusing their attention on overcharging people for gimmicks, and trying to charge punters an exorbitant fee for things like laser projection, etc. When he's saying, look, if I were cinema chains and I was struggling, I'd be doing everything I could to get punters in the door. I'd be making that very best viewing experience the minimum for people's 14 quid or whatever it is. I wouldn't be trying to charge them extra for it. I would be putting my best foot forward just as a policy, as standard. And he was very erudite on the subject and also very angry, and I really appreciated it. And after Logan, I've kind of got more of an interest in his work than perhaps I did previously. So I will get round to watching this, but again, it's not a super priority. And I'm not the biggest fan of Matt Damon in the world, but I think he's passable. But yeah, I have no opinion because I ain't seen it.